Hello and welcome to Waylander's Wandering. Today I'll be showing you a quick and easy method of getting Blood Angels Space Marines painted to a great tabletop standard. And for this I will be using this Assault Intercessor, where I have given him a dark grey undercoat, a standard grey from the Colour Forge, and then a dry brush of white over the top. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter which white you use, but any old white will do. You can also airbrush this zenithal if you choose. So, to start off, we're going to be covering all of his armour with the Blood Angels Red contrast paint from Citadel. And for this, we will definitely be trying to avoid any areas we don't want to be red at the end, because this is one of the stronger contrast paints I've found. But we're still going to put it on quite heavily to get that lovely contrast effect of the insta-shade and highlight. Trying not to leave big puddles on the flat areas of the armour, because it will leave ugly marks at the end. So starting with any particular armour panel, I tend to pick one of his legs to start with. We go around and we add the paint. If you do get any pooling on an armour panel, just use your brush to move it around while you still can, because these Citadel contrast paints do dry quite quickly. I have found that the Vallejo equivalent, the Express Colour, are a little bit more forgiving, give you a tiny little bit more time, and in fact are thick enough to use on a wet palette if you're doing a lot of painting and you need somewhere to keep your paint ready and workable for yourself. So I will carry on with this beautiful red, and I will catch up with you after this transition. With that Blood Angels red on and dried, you can see where we're getting that nice shade and highlight effect from the contrast paint, and I've gone over again where I hit some areas that I wanted to keep white with some white paint, and I've also gone over the areas that are going to be black or metallic with Mechanicus Standard Grey, just to give me an advantage to work off. The next stage, of course, this being a Blood Angels Assault Intercessor, is to hit up some yellow parts, for which I'm going to be using Citadel Contrast Imperial Fist. So the first thing will be his chest eagle. Like so. Again, putting it on reasonably heavily, and do you know what, because this is such a small tight area and there are no real big flat areas on something like his chest eagle, you can kind of go for the good old fashioned wash it on. Do not bother with too thin coats for something like this, it's just not worth the hassle. Plop it on as thick as you like and you will get an effect like that. It should dry quite nicely. Next up will be his helm, which again, because his Blood Angel is bright yellow for reasons, and because there are more flat areas on something like a Space Marine helmet, it's time to go back to that careful, don't let it fall too much on the flat areas methodology. The other area that's going to be yellow is going to be the blade of his chainsaw, because I'm going to attempt a hazard stripe pattern on that when we come to do the black. So I'll finish these off and call you back very soon. With the yellow on and nicely dried, it's time to start hitting up those areas that are going to be black or leather. For the leather, we will be using Citadel Contrast Gore Grunter Fur, and for the black, we'll be using Citadel Contrast Black Legion. So without further ado, let's crack on with the leathers, which will be his belts and pouches. So we will stick these on, again quite heavily, because we definitely want a nice contrast effect on these bits. And dark excess pooling won't be too bad, in my opinion, on things like these leathers, because leather is an organic and natural product and is therefore not normally uniform in its wear after any period of time, as you want to see if you've ever owned, leather coats and such. We still want it on relatively neatly. Definitely don't want to get it anywhere else. So I will finish off these leather bits and whip round and do all the black and bring you back in for the metallics. With the black and leather completed, it's now time to address the metallic parts. By the way, I did try the hazard stripes. All things being equal, I'm going to go over that again in black, just have a plain black sword hilt. So we'll be seeing that after this. Oh, we also need to do the ocular lenses in the helmet, which will be the Tesseract Glow, and the metallic that I'm going to be using is Citadel Layer Ironbreaker. So first things first, we will address that black bit, that sword hilt, because those hazard stripes are not good. I am not good at freehand. So let's quickly pile a lump of this on. And because the yellow is pretty vibrant, the Imperial Fist, I may need 2 coats of this black to cover it up. Which will be fun. Always remember, when you are painting your miniatures, if you do something like these hazard stripes and you just don't like it, it's not the end of the world. You own brushes, you own paint, you can fix it with a simple application of some more paint. If it's an area with heavy detail, you kind of want to put it on relatively thin. But these nice flat panels, you can just put it on to your heart's content and just cover everything up. And with that quick application, we see an area that could have been considered a mistake fixed. A little bit peeping through there. Sneaky, sneaky. There we go, fixed. And now to get back what we were doing, we will start applying this metallic paint. Now, because the Blood Angel has the yellow and the vibrant red, we won't be doing any golden metallic parts. What would have been golden on another marine with a different colour pattern will stay silver on here because it offers a better contrast. So we're looking at this symbol on his arm, metallic parts of his sword and bolt gun, and of course the reinforcement on the heel of his holster there, plus vents and things on the backpack. So I will get all this done and fill in his eyes, which sounds a lot more painful than it's actually going to be, and bring you back in to talk in a second or two. So there we have it. One Blood Angel's Assault Intercessor tabletop ready. You can throw your decals on it or visit my good friend Kev at the Hobby Corner and nag him to actually get his Space Marine chapter badges and symbols series finished. I will add a link in the pinned comment down below, and if I forget, you can remind me with a comment, and then I'll add a link in the pinned comment down below to the Hobby Corner, which is Kev's channel. But of course, for me, this still could have a little bit more work just to lift it up again. If you want to though, you can just base it to match the rest of your army, and away you go onto the battlefield, happy as Larry. So what I'll do is I'll do the finishing touches and then bring you back in to show you how I apply decals. And with that in mind, what I'm going to be doing is having a wash of Vallejo Game Wash black all over the Silver Metallics to bring those and give them a lift. A scratchy and edge highlight of Baylor Brown on the leatherwork to give it some aged effect. Another edge highlight of Citadel Colour Wild Rider Red on the red, surprisingly enough. A similar edge highlight of Uriel Yellow on the yellow bits. And when the wash is dried, I will quickly go over with Stormhouse Silver to just to lift some of those edges up, and maybe the black itself will get a quick edge highlight of Dawnstone. This can be quite time consuming, so I definitely won't be making you sit all the way through this with me. But what I will do very quickly is show you the techniques that we use. Now, if we take some of this Wild Rider Red straight from the pot, because I tend to keep my paints quite thin. I mean, this one's getting there a little bit to the point where I need to add a bit more flow improver. But I like to keep my paints kind of runny. And using the edge of the brush at a 45-degree angle, go across any of these raised upper areas to add an edge highlight. So across the top of the knee pad there, and this place along the greave, and top of the boot there. Can't quite get in. So areas where there is no raised lip or we can't get in, what we do is we come in as straight as you can, either vertical, horizontal, or whatever angle is comfortable for you, and just paint a very fine line following the area that you want to highlight. And instead of moving your brush, because you've got this nice comfortable position there, turn the miniature so that you can hit the next piece. So I'll show you very quickly once again across the top of this knee pad. You would start here, move your brush across, so, and then to do the other side, remove the miniature, not our brush, so that we can maintain that braced and comfortable position. And to get the braces, elbows on the table, hands together to form some solid triangles. So quickly once more, 45-degree angle and edges along where you can, the most raised of edges. Where you can't, just come in with a straight edge, so straight down like so, a little bit in the corner there. And if we do that with all of our various colours, I'll bring you back in once I've spent the rest of my time doing this. We'll have a look at the decals. Now we have those edge highlights all done, which I tend to feel is a less is more technique. We can see the define the armor plates and such a lot better. Honestly, I'm not a fan of edge highlighting, but even I can see that on things like a marine, it is worth the time to do it. So there we go. And that wash has defined and brought out the texture and the detail on things like the gun casing and the motor thing on top of the chainsword. But anyway, on to decals. I will be using this Dark Imperium transfer sheet, particularly these Blood Angels ones here down at the bottom. As I said, you can hit up Kev at the Hobby Corner, who I'm sure will be happy to pull his finger out and actually get his ones done. So starting with here, we will cut out a Blood Angels chapter badge. I won't show you each and every decal because they're all the same. So cut out the decal you want to use, being careful that we don't cut any other areas. Take a set of tweezers. I like these reverse action tweezers because they will hold the decal without me having to hold the tweezers. So taking a corner, we can hold the decal like so. Next thing to do is take micro set, which is I've numbered 1, because I always forget which order to do these in, which is a setting solution for decals. It softens decals and improves adhesion. So dip it in, place it somewhere out of the way, take a clean brush, get a brush full of the microset, apply it to the area you want to place the transfer on. You can hit these up with a gloss varnish first, which does give you a nice guaranteed smooth slippery surface to put your decals on, but honestly for the most part it's unnecessary. I do it sometimes I don't. It's that kind of thing. Rinse your brush, because this microset was possibly not toxic, is definitely not good for you. Lift the decal from the backing paper with your brush and very gently align and place the decal on the miniature. That is slightly off to one side, I think. So very gently getting the brush and the decal, move it around a little, and you can use your tweezers for this as well if you're gentle, just to tease it across. I prefer the brush, to be honest. I think it's less likely to damage the decal. So moving it across, brushing away, get a little bit more liquid. By the way, this is where using a bit of gloss varnish would have been to give me an advantage. So gently push it across until you're happy with the position, and it needs to go up slightly on the left hand side. There we go. Now we've got it in place. Brush it flat, making sure that all the edges are down. Then we take a cotton bud or Q-tip that is damp but not sopping, gently with a rolling motion force the decal and get any creases and bubbles out of it. And that is now attached. Put the lid back on a microset because it's quite expensive, we don't spill it. And you take the microsol, which is another setting solution. It softens the decal and makes it conform to the shape better. What it will also do is dissolve the backing paper and just leave the print, so that you get that nice, beautiful painted on finish, and you literally just slop this on. Leave it to dry, and there you go. That is how you attach decals. I'll do the other decals off camera and base the miniature, and we'll come back in at the end and have a look at our finished Assault Intercessor. Now that I've got the rest of those decals on, I've got a company marking on his shoulder there, the yellow drop shape, a company marking on his knee there, that lightning bolt thing, a campaign badge on his greave, and of course the chapter badge that I did it on camera. I've also based him in the same way that I based everything else in this series, and I'm sure that at least one of these videos goes through a step-by-step of how I do this. But there we go. That is how you paint super fast Blood Angels, this being an Assault Intercessor. But do you know, guys, it honestly doesn't matter whether this is an Assault Intercessor or not. These are the techniques that you would use to paint your Leviathan box set or any other Space Marines as fast as you like. I would definitely think that full squad of 10 of these, batch painted, maybe an evening and a half, so say 2 evenings. You could probably get all that done, and that's allowing time for the bases to dry, because that takes ages, and to do the edge highlighting. If you're doing a more simple base and you're not bothering with the edge highlighting part of the paint job, you could probably paint 10 of them in an evening, say 4 hours. But there you go. I hope you've learned something from this painting tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it, even if you didn't learn something. If you did enjoy it, or you did learn something, don't forget to like, share and subscribe down below. Leave me a comment if you will. Everything that you see on screen now, the Assault Intercessors, the paint, everything, can be bought from Mighty Lancer Games in Bridlington, who I have an affiliate link with. I also have Discord, where you can chat to me, link in the description down below, etc. Right, there's a link in the description down below. Use it. If you didn't like the video, equally leave a dislike. I think that's it for this time. I love your faces, and goodbye.